Hi everyone, and we are live here on Instagram. At the same time, we are recording for YouTube. So let me start with some questions that I received from you. And one question that I got was the question, what are the target universities for management consulting in Germany? And I would say those are the top business schools or top university. And this is typically University of Mannheim. Then we of course have the two universities in Munich. So this is Technical University of Munich, and then also LMU, so Ludwig-Maximilians Universität, so university. This is where I studied, for example. And then we also have some private schools like WHU or HHL, and those are probably the target unis on target universities in Germany. But obviously, you know, there are other business schools as well, like ESB or EBS, which are also very good. And I would say if you study in Cologne, for example, those are also very good universities for business. And those are probably the target universities in Germany. Then I received a question. So last minute tips for McKinsey case interviews scheduled for tomorrow. So the tip that I always give is that you just try to relax and try to have fun. If the interview is tomorrow, then you probably won't have much time anymore to do the preparation. So maybe you use this evening to do some sports, to just try to go to bed very early, just try to relax and really try to, you know, tomorrow if you have the interview, to be as relaxed as possible. Just try to have a very good time, because the interviewer will feel and know if you are in a good mood. And obviously, you know, it makes a much better impression if you have a kind of, you know, relaxed attitude and are just enjoying the cases, you know, because also the performance obviously will be much better if you're just, you know, having fun doing those cases. So don't overthink it. I'm sure you did all the best for your preparation. And I would say just use the last evening to do some sports, you know, read an inspiring book, go to bed early, and I wish you the best of luck for your interview tomorrow. Then the next question that I received, and as I said, if you have any questions, then please just write them in the chat and I will answer them. And I received a question, is EM Lyon and EDHEC, are those good schools to work in MBB? So those are French business schools, and I think they're pretty good. Obviously, if we talk about Europe, there are also other very good business schools, like London Business School, like St. Gallen, for example. But EM Lyon and EDHEC are also, especially in France, probably some of the best universities there. And so I think those are very good schools for joining MBB. And the next question was, apart from MBBs and Big 4, which other companies are good for management consulting? And this is a question that I can almost, you know, not answer, because there are hundreds of great consulting firms. And I really mean that when I say that each consulting firm out there has its own pros and cons. I know if we talk about management consulting, most people think of MBB, so McKinsey, Bain, and BCG, and the Big 4, so KPMG, PwC, Deloitte, and Ernst & Young. But there are many other great companies out there as well. For example, I started at a strategy boutique called Stern Stewart, and I'm still very, very happy there. Okay, so this is a strategy consultancy. They also have a private equity arm, for example, venture capital arm. It's a very entrepreneurial company. And if we talk about strategy consulting, I mean, there are the typical tier 2 companies like Carney, like LEK, like EY Parthenon, Strategy End. So those are also very great strategy consultancies. If we talk about more specialized firms, then we have in Germany, for example, Horvath & Partners. Those are great consultants for controlling. We have Simon Kucher, great for marketing and pricing. And obviously, if we talk about the tech sector, we also have Accenture, Capgemini, And those are also very great firms with great consulting branches. So it highly depends. There are just many firms out there. And this is also what I talk about in my consulting crash course. It's the question of finding the right firm. Okay, so I think it's always very important to think about, okay, which kind of criteria are very important to me. Then do some research and try to evaluate different firms along those criteria, and then make your decision. And not everyone will be happy working for McKinsey, BCG and Bain. And also not everyone will be happy working for the Big 4. Okay, so this can be a very individual decision. Okay, but there are many great firms out there. Another question that I received up front was the question, can you please share your views about Finalta, or joining it can limit your career to benchmarking? So just for your understanding, Finalta is a benchmarking platform by McKinsey. Okay, so this is where companies can register, and this is kind of, you know, where there are anonymous where there is anonymous benchmarking data available. And the question is, if this person joins Finalta, if this can limit a career. And I know no one personally who works there, but I would imagine, especially at the beginning, if you can't get into McKinsey or any other consultancy that you want to join, this is certainly a good place to start. But of course, from there, you should develop a plan if you want to get into management consulting. You just should prepare a plan on how to get there. Okay, so as a first station, I think this should not limit your career to any area. But obviously, you know, maybe you consider doing a master's degree or MBA, depending on what your education is, or just, you know, getting some more experience to have better chances to get into management consulting later on. So that would be my take. And the question from Patagonia is, how to switch to consulting from business development? So I assume that you have currently a business development position and want to join consulting. I think first of all, the question is what consultancy you want to join. So are we talking about a strategy sector, or are we talking about a Big 4, for example? But nevertheless, I think the steps that you take are very similar. So first of all, I would really focus on learning about management consulting. Okay, so really try to understand the industry, read books about management consulting to have a good picture, okay, what a consultant does and what a consulting industry looks like. Second, I think it's very important to find the right firm. As I said, you have to decide what kind of firm you want to join. So is it a strategy sector, Big 4, are this more specialized firms, or tech sector, for example? Okay. Then the third step is that you develop a strategy on how, or that you develop a plan on how to prepare for your career. Okay. And this might be that you just simply apply. This would mean that you can directly prepare for your interviews, or maybe you want to do an additional education, so doing an MBA, for example, a master's degree or something like that. And also you should develop a strategy. Okay, so this means that you really think about your strengths and weaknesses, make a self-assessment and think about, okay, what kind of strengths can I show and really, you know, put on my CV, and what kind of weaknesses do I have to compensate. And this is what I would recommend. And again, this is what I talk about in the consulting crash course. And if you have more specific questions, then please let me know, because I don't know what kind of consultancy you want to join or what your current status is. But as a general recommendation, I have always those 4 steps. First, learn about the industry. Second, identify the right firm for you. Third, make a plan to prepare to get into consulting. And fourth, develop a strategy to compensate for your weaknesses and really highlight your strengths. Okay. I'm fluent in German, but my grammar is not perfect though. Could this have a negative impact in MBB? Yes, it could. So obviously language is an important part. I think the most difficult thing is that you compete against people from the best universities, and those people obviously, you know, are very eloquent, so know how to communicate very well, and this might have this could be a disadvantage. Nevertheless, if you can compensate for that by, having great analytical skills, for example, or being very fluent and eloquent and outspoken in English, then, it shouldn't be a problem. Nevertheless, what I hear all the time is that even if you, if you apply for a branch in Germany, that, speaking German is required. Okay, so be aware of that. How to shift from audit to consulting? It depends if you are in a Big 4 advisory firm. So if you are, let's say, for example, already working for PwC, then obviously it's much easier for you to switch to consulting, because then you have, this is just a transfer within the company. And I know many people working for the Big 4 who made the transition from audit to consulting, okay? But there, I think the best way is to talk to your HR department, or talk to your mentor within the firm. He or she can probably give you the best advice on how to do that. And if you are in a different audit firm and just want to join the consulting sector, so if you're not working for a Big 4, then I would recommend the same steps that I just mentioned. So first, learn about the industry, really pick the right firm. So maybe, joining a Big 4 advisory firm might be easier than joining McKinsey or BCG, for example. And then develop a preparation plan and a strategy to compensate for your weaknesses and really highlight your strengths. How does one go about doing research on existing management consulting companies? In particular, what are the market trends and how consulting companies should develop their strategy? So I assume that, So I assume that you want to develop a strategy for a consulting firm itself, okay? And what I would then do is, you typically do a external analysis and internal analysis. If we talk about the external market analysis, then I would take a look at the market size first. I like to use, there's a site called consultancy, what is it called? Consultancy.uk, I think. You have to Google it. Give me a second, I will do that. Yes, it's consultancy.uk, and they typically have very good market data. And there you can see also the main trends. If you want to do more deep dive into different competitors, I just would look up the main consulting firms. I mean, this obviously is like MBB, McKinsey, Bain, and BCG, then the Big 4, then all the specialized firms, and highly depends, of course, on the country you're in, or the continent. And there, different firms have more presence or less presence. And that's what I would do. And this is where I would start. And then if you have any specifics, I just would do research. Okay, so that's how I would proceed. But Payek, if you have more specific questions, then let me know. Okay. What do you think about Kearney Middle East? Are the exit opportunities that different between MBB and Kearney? Yes, they are different. You have to say, and you have to be honest that, if you work for MBB, then you have a very, very, very strong brand on your CV, okay? Because everyone knows McKinsey, everyone knows BCG, everyone knows Bain. Of course, many people, especially if you want to go afterwards, into the top management somewhere, many people also know Kearney. But obviously, compared to MBB, exit opportunities are always, a bit worse than if you would work for MBB. But nevertheless, I mean, you still are working for a top strategy consulting firm, and you still have numerous exit opportunities, especially if you work for clients. Okay. The only thing I want to say is that everyone knows the names of McKinsey, BCG, and Bain. And probably only 80% know Kearney, for example, okay? So it's always a bit easier working for MBB, but nevertheless, you would have great exit opportunities nevertheless. And I don't know, specifically about Kearney Middle East, but I would assume that since, every tier 2 and tier 3 company is also Middle East, that they have a very strong branch there. Then I see no more questions. Sorry again for the delay, and today we keep it a bit shorter. And thank you for watching. As always, it was a pleasure, and we will do another live probably next week. And if you have any questions in the meantime, then just write me on Instagram, or you can also check out YouTube. You would do me a huge favor if you go to YouTube, subscribe to my channel, leave a thumb up, and this would really push the channel. And with that being said, hope you have a wonderful evening, a great Sunday, and a very successful next week. Talk to you soon. Goodbye, Johannes.